On June 16, 2023, a neighborhood on the west side of Cleveland, Ohio, became the backdrop for an incomprehensible crime. Crystal Candelario, a 31-year-old mother, came back from a 10-day vacation to discover a nightmare scenario in her own home. Her 16-month-old daughter was found in a dire state of neglect, her condition so severe that it rendered first responders speechless and brought hardened detectives to tears. As the investigation unfolded, it laid bare an even more shocking reality: the chain of events that led to such appalling neglect. In this video, we will examine the details of the Candelario case and confront the harrowing question that haunts everyone touched by this case. How and why could such a vulnerable child fall victim to what a judge has described as the ultimate betrayal? Let's dive in.
If you don't mind, just please say and spell your first and last name.
Yes, Detective T.J. Powell, P-O-W-E-L-L, assigned to the Cleveland Police Homicide Unit. I was the lead detective investigator on this case, and I can honestly say, Your Honor, in my 17-year career as a Cleveland police officer, this by far is the most horrific case I've ever had to investigate, Now, I've been a detective for 10 years.
Crystal Candelario, born on September 11, 1991, is a 32-year-old single mother who relocated to the United States from Ecuador in 2016. She resides with her parents and two daughters in a 3-bedroom, 1-bath home in the Cadell neighborhood of Cleveland, Ohio. Since December 2022, Crystal has worked as a substitute teacher at Citizens Leadership Academy, a local elementary charter school. She holds a bachelor's degree from overseas. The State Board of Education records show that, except for 2023, Crystal has consistently applied for her annual substitute teaching license starting from 2020. In 2021, Crystal connected on Facebook with Henry Garcia, who lived in Ecuador. They began an online relationship and later traveled to the Dominican Republic to spend more time together. According to Garcia, Crystal returned to Ohio and, from there, notified him of her pregnancy. As per court records, Crystal claimed the couple were in a long-distance relationship and Garcia had become physically abusive during the pregnancy. Nevertheless, Crystal gave birth to daughter Jaylene in early 2022. It was clear through social media that Crystal was fond of traveling. She shared images of herself in various locations on Facebook. Yet, besides the occasional travel images, her Facebook posts mainly consisted of selfies in different poses and outfits interspersed with a few photos of her children. While Crystal had no record of felony offenses, she had a reputation in the neighborhood that raised a few eyebrows. Community members claim it was not uncommon for Crystal to leave her 1-year-old Jaylene in the house alone. In August 2022, prior to the arrival of Crystal's parents, a neighbor agreed to watch Jaylene for a weekend. However, the arrangement unexpectedly turned into weeks, with Crystal unresponsive or evasive when contacted. According to a published report, one neighbor said, "I was the one calling her saying, 'Look, I don't have money to buy milk for your baby. What am I supposed to do?'" She said it got to the point where Jaylene was calling her mama.
And neighbors told me this is not the first time Candelario has left the baby home alone.
We keep telling her not to leave her by herself. Not only me, my friend across the street too, but she always be here by herself.
They got to know and love little Jaylene. They say they took Jaylene in many times when Candelario went to work, even describing her as one of their own. According to these neighbors, Candelario left Jaylene often.
It wasn't really her mom that was taking care of her, it was her grandma that was mostly taking care of her. Her mom always wanted to go out and just left her with her grandma and all that.
Neighbors added that Jaylene was otherwise well cared for and showed no apparent signs of physical injury. Based on a report by News 5 Cleveland, officials with Children and Family Services claim there is no record of previous cases involving Candelario. As the 2023 school year ended, Crystal, eager for her favorite summer activity, planned a vacation. With her eldest daughter away with her parents, she scheduled a trip to Puerto Rico to rendezvous with her boyfriend from June 8th to June 11th. Surveillance from a doorbell camera showed her leaving her home on June 6th, carrying a suitcase, as she had arranged a short stay in Detroit before heading to Puerto Rico. By all accounts, Crystal was living her best life while on vacation, enjoying the sun, clear blue Caribbean waters, nightlife, and the company of friends. On June 9th, she made a social media post from the Isla Verde beach in Puerto Rico with the caption, "Time enjoyed is the true time lived." Yet, this joy sharply contrasted with the terrifying event that was about to unfold. Crystal arrived in the mainland U.S. on June 11th, but did not go straight home. Instead, she spent several days in Detroit with friends. Upon returning home on June 16th at about 7:36 a.m., Crystal found her 1-year-old daughter alone in her playpen, unresponsive and with sunken eyes. She called the police 11 minutes later.
Controlling the morning.
Okay. Come on, sir. This is my supervisor, Sergeant
I'm
Gomez.
reality too. I give to her when she got a crying or vomit. She was refusing to do the food and she was with no appetite. I say, oh my God.
This is after last Monday and Tuesday when she was throwing up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you talking about Monday and Tuesday like 4 days ago?
Yeah,
Okay.
last week, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Because we almost done this week, so I talk about,
Because what this week?
This week. Yeah, I talk about because we almost done, the
Oh, we're almost done with this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so that was just Monday and Tuesday of this week. She was throwing up.
Yes.
And then how was she Wednesday and Thursday?
She was with no food, just with a meal because she was refusing. Maybe it's because she get a vomiting 2 days, before.
Yeah.
So that's why
What?
I was scary because I say, oh my God, let me go to the hospital because she doesn't eat anything. And she was lose tiny, her weight. I lose, her weight. But right now, in this morning when I wake up, she was asleep. She sleep every day 12 hours.
Okay.
She sleep like at 9 p.m. to 9 or 10 a.m.
Okay.
12 hours. So in this morning I was sleeping too. I never wake up. She was.
What happened? What was going on last night?
Last night she was crying a lot, and I see one moment when I was take a shower, and she was screaming like I don't know, probably she get a pain.
Okay.
Maybe.
About what time was that last night?
Maybe at 7 or 8 p.m.
Okay.
So she was screaming like, probably for pain or something like that. In this morning when I wake up, I took her in the morning for, Jaylene, wake up, and she wake up, and when I see her, I see she looks like a really, really dry, like a, ¿cómo se dice cuando una persona se chupa, o sea, se...
Kind of like,
Yes.
Oh, like her face was sunken in?
So, yeah. Y ahí fue que yo me asusté y
here.
dije,
Crystal's explanation of the events puzzled the officers, who, at this point, were unaware that she had been out of town since June 6th. They were primarily concerned by her calm manner just hours after finding her daughter dead, along with her descriptions of clear signs of physical distress in her daughter that necessitated medical intervention. Help that was never sought. Consequently, they decided to take Crystal to the police station for a formal and thorough interrogation.
What time did you go to Detroit, Michigan on Monday? Monday morning? Okay. On Monday morning, what condition was Jaylene in?
She was okay.
She was okay? Was she awake, asleep?
No, she was sleeping.
She was asleep when you left? Sorry. You went there on Monday at what time?
Maybe 7 or 8 a.m.
In the morning?
Yeah.
Okay. 7.
Like every evening, I don't know exactly.
Early in the morning?
Yeah.
But when you left out, Jaylene was sleeping in her playpen? Okay. So, you go to Michigan. What time did you arrive in Michigan?
You say through here?
Espérate, ya finish.
No, como 30 minutos, 2 hours and 30 minutes.
2 hours, 30 minutes? Okay. So you get there, when you arrive there, who do you deal with?
Yo llegué a un hotel, pero yo trabajaba de Uber, así que yo me puse a trabajar directamente en Uber.
She stayed at a hotel and she right away started working at Uber. Okay, come on. You está guiando to Detroit, Michigan. You don't know what city, you don't know what hotel. You gotta come out with something better than that.
No,
Okay.
pero el hotel donde él se estaba hospedando, Super A.
Where you were staying, not David, where you were staying. We're not talking about David.
Super A, that's it.
Super 8?
Yeah.
Alright, so you arrived there 2 hours later, you said it's Super 8, you mentioned something about Uber.
Yo estaba trabajando en Uber, sí.
She was working Uber. Why would you go, hold on. Why would you go work Uber in Detroit, Michigan,
Porque yo
instead of doing it here in Cleveland,
Sí, porque
where your daughter is?
yo también trabajaba aquí en Uber, aquí en Cleveland.
Okay, but why go over there and not do it here? Why not do it here? Your daughter's here.
Porque me iba a ver a mis padres también en Michigan,
She
entonces
was friends with
aproveché.
some friends over there in Michigan, so she took advantage of the fact that she was over there to visit people, she worked over there.
Pero no era siempre que lo hacía.
But not always. That's not, she didn't do that always.
And don't take this the wrong way. At what point did you think that it would make sense to leave her here while you was in Detroit?
No toma esto de la manera mal, pero ¿en qué momento tú pensaste que está bien
Por pasear, por
to travel,
por pasear,
Why not travel with you?
¿Por qué no llevaste a ella contigo?
porque yo pensaba regresar el viernes y ya quedarme con ella, o sea, era algo rápido, eventual, que no...
She said that because she had planned on returning on Friday and spending time with them, so
Porque no me iba a quedar en la casa de nadie.
she wasn't going to stay in anybody's house.
But why not take with you if you know, you already knew that she had a condition going on at the time?
Si tú sabías que ella tenía una condición y estaba enfermita,
She needed
¿por qué no llevarla contigo?
Porque por eso mismo, por yo pasear, por...
She wanted to have a good time and travel.
After taking the time to investigate Crystal's inconsistent claims, detectives obtained overwhelming evidence, including ring camera footage of June 9th, which captured what they believed to be Jaylene's final cries. Investigators concluded that Crystal had knowingly left her 16-month-old daughter home alone in a 2-by-3-foot playpen for 10 days without food or water while she vacationed in various locations. The autopsy's findings of starvation and severe dehydration as the causes of death corroborate this conclusion. According to the medical examiner, Jaylene most likely passed away sometime between June 9th and the 13th. Subsequently, Crystal was arrested on June 18th. A grand jury returned an indictment of aggravated murder, 2 counts of murder, 1 count of felonious assault, and 1 count of endangering a child. Her bond was set at $1 million. The case moved quickly through the court system, leading to an initial trial date in January 2024, which a judge later rescheduled to February 26th. But 4 days before trial, Crystal was offered and accepted a plea deal. By agreeing to plead guilty to aggravated murder and 1 count of endangering a child, the other charges against her were dropped. Since accepting a plea deal meant no trial, sentencing was set for March 18th. At this hearing, Sergeant Teresa Gomez shared her reflections on the case.
So she can have an accurate spelling.
Teresa Gomez, Teresa Gomez. Good morning, Your Honor. Your Honor, thank you for allowing me to be the voice for Jaylene Candelario, a beautiful angel whose life was cut short for no good reason. This tragedy should have never happened. I am Sergeant Gomez from the Homicide Unit. The entire Homicide Unit, Cleveland Homicide Initiative, and our partners from the FBI are here today in honor of baby Jaylene Candelario. When we were first notified of this horrific case, we were all heartbroken. But when we started digging deeper into the investigation, It was beyond horrific. It was revealed that the defendant, Crystal Candelario, left her own child alone for hours, which led to days, which led to weeks. This 16-month-old baby was left alone in a pack and play to fend for herself for 11 days with no food, maybe milk, the clothing she had on, and the diaper she was wearing. This baby loved her mother, she needed her mother, and her mother betrayed her. Mothers usually want their children to have a long, happy life, but Candelario placed more importance on a vacation in Puerto Rico with her boyfriend than the health, safety, and well-being of her own daughter. She chose to satisfy her own needs and desires over that of her own child.
Crystal's court-appointed attorney was in the unenviable position of trying to defend the indefensible.
Okay, we're going to turn now to the defense. Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court, everything that I'm about to get into here today, and my client agrees with me, is no justification for her actions. And what the prosecution said, actions matter, and these actions are narcissistic, selfish, abhorrent, absolutely worst parenting imaginable. She pled to aggravated murder. She pled to child endangering. So everything we're about to tell you is mitigation. Just to kind of give you an understanding of who this person is. So she came over from Ecuador 2016 with her grandmother. She was here for a few years. Her parents came over and they lived together. She had her first daughter, Amaya, while she was married. She subsequently got divorced, was a single mom. Met the father of Jaylene in Ecuador. They had a relationship that unfortunately turned violent. While she was pregnant with Jaylene, he became physical with her. She came back to Cleveland and never see him again, gave birth to Jaylene. He was never involved in Jaylene's life. She had 2 daughters on her with the help of her parents. She was struggling emotionally, physically, trying to work, support these children. Fast forward to 2023. It's just overwhelming. She even tried to harm herself. Took 20 Motrin. Ended up in Metro. In early February of 23, after spending just a few days in her room alone, her mother went to check on her, asked her what was going on. Her whole side of her body was numb. Didn't know what was going on. They took her to Hillcrest Hospital. She was admitted there, and they were doing some evaluations for her migraine. She was complaining about headaches and weakness, facial drooping, thought it was possible stroke. They put her on IV Depakote, which is a anti-seizure, also used to treat manic disorder. And at the end of the day, after evaluations, she was clean, nothing wrong with her brain. They gave her some oral Depakote and Effexor, 2 antidepressants, and sent her home. She was not very clear on what those were, but she was taking them supposedly as directed. And then she returned to Hillcrest Hospital again in March, and there was a note from the doctor saying that she should have had plenty of Effexor, but she's saying that she's out and she needs more, and she's coming back with these same problems. So they had her evaluated again, and they were saying that her anxiety and her stress was the trigger for these physical manifestations to what was happening to her, for the loss of sensation in the side of her body, the numbness. And they prescribed her more Depakote, more Effexor, and also Atarax to help her sleep, because she wasn't sleeping. And this is in March of 2023. And, take the medications as prescribed. And then medications ran out. She wasn't feeling any better, they weren't working, she stopped. Not supposed to do that with these drugs, Your Honor. These are very serious mental health drugs, and you need to be tapered off of these medications, or there could be some side effects. Not only the side effects, but the actual underlying conditions that she may have had or been suffering from are also going unmedicated at this time. And then we get into her trip, and I'm not going through that again. That's the worst thing I've ever heard. And I commend the prosecution and the detectives for their work. It was unimaginable, terrible, and I feel for all you guys having to deal with that too, and her family as well. It's when the prosecution showed pictures of her on her trip. Pictures can be deceiving. Personally, for having myself suffer from depression and anxiety, you can't tell what a person is going through from a picture, what they're dealing with on the inside. And I'm thankful for the support that I had from my family, my friends, my doctors. She didn't have any of that. She was hiding it from herself, from her parents. Nobody knew what she was suffering from. Her doctors even thought it was migraines and possible strokes. And to be honest with you, when I first met her, Your Honor, after this happened in June, I met a person that was devoid of emotion. Just after hearing what had happened on the news, and then I get the call, she wants to meet with me, and I go talk to her, it was not what I expected. She had no emotion. She couldn't explain anything. I had no idea who I was talking to. But I'll tell you right now, this is not the same person. This person now is compliant on her medications. She's been taking them through the prison throughout the whole time that she's been in here. I'll echo again, there's no justification for her action when she was out there, what she was doing. She could have called somebody, she could have done that, yes, but when you're in that state, when you're off medication, mismanaging your thoughts, you're not thinking clearly, her body she had to get out, and she was having fun. If she was okay, in her mind, Jaylene was okay. But of course that's not the case. But I will point to when she did finally get home, and we heard that 911 call, she didn't want this to happen. You could hear that. Screaming, help me, my daughter's dying. Yes, because of your actions, because of what your choices were. And you took responsibility for that, but that call, that one tiny breach from whatever was going on in her head, that reality that her daughter was dying, she was calling for help, she didn't want that.
Lastly, Your Honor, you're going to hear that Ms. Candelaria was depressed. And no one more than I appreciate mental health and mental health issues and the programs that this court and my office have tried to implement to help folks with mental health. This is not the case here. This is not the case at all. Her actions speak louder than words. She had the wherewithal to leave Cuyahoga County and drive to Detroit, to be not with one man, but with two, let alone leaving a child, her own flesh and blood, in a pack and play. And during the time that she has been locked up, she has been making plans for the future, talking to other folks at other jails, other prisons. She had a conversation, which I find more disturbing than not, but on November 26, 2023, instead of wrought with emotion, wrought with guilt, crying about the death of her child, she's talking with a friend about her trip to Puerto Rico and what a blast it was and how much the car cost, and they got a truck versus a car even though it was more expensive, and they were concerned about the other woman that was on the trip because she liked to spend money, and they spent money on food. There was never mention about her daughter in her phone calls, and in fact, On January 6th of 2024, she's talking to her mother, who she repeatedly talks to, and they talk about God is forgiving, God is this. You also have to take responsibility for your actions.
Before the judge handed down his sentence, Crystal Candelario was offered the opportunity to speak.
Ms. Candelaria, you want to stand up and address the court?
Your Honor, good morning. Sorry. Hay mucho dolor que tengo con respecto a la pérdida de mi bebé Yailin.
There's so much pain that I have in regards to the loss of my baby, Yailin.
Estoy muy dolida por todo lo que pasó.
I'm extremely hurt about everything that happened.
No estoy tratando de justificar mis actos,
I am not trying to justify my actions,
pero nadie sabe cuánto yo estaba sufriendo.
but nobody knew how much I was suffering
Y por lo que estaba pasando.
and what I was going through.
Todos los días le pido perdón a Dios y a mi hija, Yailin.
Every day I ask forgiveness from God and from my daughter, Jaylene.
Soy una persona creyente de Dios
I'm a person who believes in God.
y reconozco hoy que todos y todas, muchas ocasiones, somos tentados por el enemigo.
And I recognize today that all of us are sometimes subject to the enemy.
Dios y mi hija me han perdonado.
God and my daughter have forgiven me.
As a court, I have to remember Jalen, where you did not. Just as you didn't let Jalen out of her confinement until she died, so too, you should spend the rest of your life in a cell without freedom. The only difference will be that prison will at least feed you and give you liquids that you denied her. Based on all these factors, based on all the things I've looked at, and I'm marking this as State's Exhibit 1 for the court order. On count 1, aggravated murder, I'm going to sentence you to life in prison without the possibility of parole.